Welcome to the Blindness channel. Today we explain Numbers chapter 22 in a clear and simple way, step by step. We're going to walk right through the text, digging into exactly what happens, who's involved, and why this whole crazy situation unfolds the way it does.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our 6-part roadmap for today's explainer. First, context and the summons. Second, the journey and the donkey. Third, arrival at Bamoth Baal. Fourth, clarifications and explanations. Fifth, practical life lessons. And finally, a chapter 22 recap. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Context and the summons.
So the chapter opens by anchoring us to a very specific real-world location. The Israelites have just traveled to the plains of Moab. They're camped right along the Jordan River, directly across from Jericho. Now remember, they've been journeying through this wilderness for a while, and they literally just defeated some massive, powerful kings like Sihon and Og. So now this absolutely massive population of Israelites has arrived right at the doorstep of Moab. And honestly, this physical placement, it's the catalyst for the entire story that follows.
Which brings us to a really crucial question. Why is the local leadership so absolutely terrified? Well, the text introduces us to Balak, the son of Zippor. He's the king of Moab at the time. And verse 2 tells us that Balak saw absolutely everything that Israel had just done to the Amorites. Because of the sheer number of Israelites, Moab wasn't just, a little concerned. They were terrified. They were filled with absolute dread. The Moabites actually turn to the elders of Midian and they say, "This horde is going to lick up everything around us, as an ox licks up the grass of the field." I mean, wow, right? It's such a vivid, terrifying image, especially for an agricultural society. They feel completely and utterly overwhelmed by Israel just being there.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can clearly see Balak's escalating attempts to solve his problem. He doesn't just muster an army to handle this massive threat. He seeks a spiritual weapon. He sends messengers far away to a man named Balaam, the son of Beor, who lives at Pethor near the Euphrates River. Balak's message is pretty simple. A people has come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the land. Come and put a curse on them for me, because they're just too powerful. I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and whoever you curse is cursed. So Balak sends his first summons. The elders of Moab and Midian travel to Balaam carrying a fee for divination. But when Balaam asks God if he can go, God says no. Simple as that. Balaam refuses the elders and they go home. But Balak, he doesn't give up. He escalates. He sends a second summons, but this time using princes, who are more numerous and way more distinguished than the first group. And instead of just a standard fee, Balak promises to reward Balaam handsomely. He says he'll do whatever Balaam asks as long as he just comes to curse Israel.
Let's actually rewind for just a second to that first night to see exactly what God said to Balaam, because it literally sets the rule for the entire chapter. When those first messengers arrived, God came to Balaam and asked, "Who are these men with you?" Balaam explains that King Balak wants him to curse Israel. God's response is incredibly direct. He says, "Do not go with them. You must not put a curse on those people because they are blessed." I mean, that is a definitive, hard no. But then when the second, far more prestigious group of princes arrives offering vast wealth, Balaam tells them, "Hey, stay the night. Let's see if God will change his mind." This time, God tells Balaam, okay, he can go with them, but with a very strict condition. He must do absolutely only what God tells him to do.
Section 2. The journey and the donkey. This brings us right into verses 22 through 35, setting up arguably the most famous sequence in this entire chapter.
So Balaam saddles his donkey the next morning and sets off with those Moabite princes. But the text tells us something really important. God was very angry that Balaam went. As Balaam is riding along, the angel of the Lord stands right in the road to oppose him, holding a drawn sword. Now Balaam is totally blind to this. He sees nothing. But his donkey? She sees the angel perfectly. And we get this highly detailed, methodical escalation of events. Step 1. The donkey sees the angel in the road and frantically veers off the path into an open field. Balaam, completely oblivious, angrily beats the donkey to get her back on the road. Step 2. The angel of the Lord then moves to a narrow path between two vineyards. There are stone walls on both sides. The donkey sees the angel again. Trying to squeeze past this deadly threat, she presses close to the wall, and she actually crushes Balaam's foot right against the stone. In his pain and ignorance, Balaam beats her a second time. Step 3. The angel moves a third time. This time to a place so incredibly narrow, there's absolutely no room to turn to the right or to the left. When the donkey sees the angel this time, she realizes she is completely trapped, and she simply lies down right under Balaam. Furious, Balaam beats her a third time with a staff. And at this exact moment of peak frustration, a literal miracle occurs. The text says the Lord opened the donkey's mouth. She speaks directly to Balaam asking, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" Now, what is incredibly fascinating here is Balaam's reaction. Think about it. He doesn't seem shocked at all that his animal is talking to him. He's just utterly angry. He yells right back at the donkey, essentially having a full-blown argument with his pet livestock. He says, "You have made a fool of me. If I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." The donkey logically, calmly replies, "Am I not your own donkey which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" And Balaam is forced to answer, "No."
So the crucial point is what happens next, which finally brings everything into focus. The Lord opens Balaam's eyes. Suddenly, he can see exactly what his donkey saw all along, the angel of the Lord standing right there in the road with a drawn sword. Balaam instantly bows low, falling face down to the ground. The angel rebukes Balaam, asking him, "Why did you beat your donkey these 3 times?" The angel plainly states, "I have come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me." He explains that the donkey saw him and turned away 3 times, and honestly, if she hadn't, the angel would have killed Balaam and spared the donkey. Realizing his grave error, Balaam says, "I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. If you are displeased, I will go back." But the angel actually permits him to continue on with the men. However, he reinforces that one absolute rule: speak only what I tell you.
Section 3, Arrival at Bamoth Bal. This brings us to the final narrative beats of the chapter, where Balaam finally meets the Moabite king.
So when King Balak hears that Balaam is finally approaching, he actually goes out to meet him at a Moabite town right on the border. Balak is deeply frustrated by this whole delay. He asks, "Did I not send you an urgent summons? Why didn't you come to me? Am I really not able to reward you?" Balaam, who is now operating under strict obedience, replies, "Well, I have come to you now. But can I say just anything? No, I must speak only what God puts in my mouth." After this, they travel together to a place called Kiriath-Huzoth. There, Balak sacrifices cattle and sheep, giving some to Balaam and the princes. Then, the very next morning, Balak takes Balaam and leads him up to a high point called Bamoth Bal. From this elevated position, Balaam is finally able to physically look down and see a portion of the Israelite camp stretched out below. The pieces are now fully in place.
Section 4, Clarifications and Explanations. Let's break down a few of the specific terms from this text so we can get the simple Peshat understanding of what's really going on here.
First up, we have the location, Pithor. The text mentions early on that Balak sent messengers to Balaam at Pithor, which it says is near the river. Now, in biblical geography, the river usually refers to the Great Euphrates River. This detail is absolutely essential because it shows us the sheer, massive distance King Balak was willing to send his messengers. It highlights the absolute panic and desperation of Moab. I mean, they were willing to look far outside their own borders, literally all the way to Mesopotamia, just to find a spiritual figure they believed had the power to stop Israel.
Next is the term divination fee. When the elders of Moab and Midian initially traveled to Balaam, they didn't go empty-handed. They brought physical, monetary payment intended to hire Balaam for his services. This shows us clearly that Balaam operated, at least in part, as a professional. He was someone who could be hired to pronounce blessings or curses for a price. And that makes the later temptation of Balak's handsome reward so much clearer, doesn't it? This was absolutely a business transaction for Balaam, which conflicted directly with God's clear commands.
Finally, we have Bamoth Bal. This is the location mentioned at the very end of the chapter. Literally translated, this means the high places of Baal. Baal was a very prevalent local deity in the region. Back in ancient times, high places, like mountains or steep hills, were often used as shrines or altars because people believed they were physically closer to the heavens. So Balak takes Balaam to this specific elevated pagan site not just for the religious significance, but strategically. He wants Balaam to physically look down and actually see the Israelite people he's being hired to curse.
Section 5. Practical Life Lessons. Let's look at why this historical account actually matters for our self-improvement today.
And this brilliantly illustrates 3 highly practical, actionable lessons for us right now. First, we see that God protects his people from unseen threats. Think about it. Down in the valley, the Israelites were just camping. They were completely unaware that a foreign king was trying to hire a powerful figure to curse them from a mountaintop. Yet God was actively managing and shutting down this threat entirely behind the scenes. Second, the text highlights the sheer danger of prioritizing greed or status.
Balaam originally heard a crystal-clear no from God, but when more distinguished princes showed up offering greater wealth, he entertained the idea. His desire for the reward completely clouded his judgment and led him on to a really reckless path. And third, there is a stark lesson here on spiritual blindness. Balaam, a man literally known for his spiritual insight, was entirely blind to the angel standing right in front of him. Meanwhile, an ordinary donkey saw the reality of the situation perfectly. It's a humbling reminder that sometimes we can be completely blind to the truth that is standing right in our way.
Section 6, Chapter 22 Recap. Let's lock in everything we've just learned.
Here is the rapid-fire chronological flow of the chapter to reinforce the sequence of events. Day 1. We started with the context of Israel's massive camp causing pure terror in Moab. This led to Balak sending his first summons. Day 2. Balaam consults God and issues his first refusal. Day 3. Completely undeterred, Balak sends a second, far more prestigious summons with promises of massive wealth, and God allows Balaam to go, but with strict conditions. Day 4 covers the journey, where we witness that incredible encounter. The donkey sees the angel of the Lord 3 times, speaks to Balaam, and Balaam's eyes are finally open to his reckless path. And finally, Day 5, Balaam arrives, meets a very frustrated King Balak, and they ascend to the high places of Bamoth Baal so Balaam can look down upon the Israelites.
Which leaves us standing right on the cliff edge at Bamoth Baal. Balaam is looking down at the Israelites. King Balak is fully expecting a devastating curse. But God has commanded Balaam to speak only the words he puts in his mouth. So, will Balaam be able to curse Israel to secure his handsome reward? Or will he be forced to bless them? Thank you for learning with us. If this helped you understand the chapter better, like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter.